Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. Paddy, Browne, Tom Crotty and James Blanchfield are on. How are you, lads?
Well, Stephen, all good.
Stephen, how's it going? Hi, guys.
Everyone's in good form this week. The whole gang is back this week. I suppose we'll start with you, James. Your fixture called off with Gorey a couple of weeks ago was refixed for last Saturday. Good day, bad day?
Good day, yeah, very good day, guys. First and foremost, our first 15, there was a cracking game of rugby, absolutely. If you were neutral in Fuchstown last Sunday watching it, or last Saturday, you would kind of step back and, geez, this is one of the most enjoyable games you've seen for a while. But before I even start on the game, I just need to speak about the referee. Niall Bean turned up to be an assessor, and the appointed referee never showed up. So Niall went to his car, got his gear out and took on the game. And not easy for a guy coming to assess a game to actually take the central job. So fair play to him and thanks for doing that, because if he didn't, the game probably likely wouldn't have gone ahead. It was just looked at, there was an assessor appointed. It was just looked at the assessor appointed. He's still an active referee as well. So thankfully it all worked out, and he had a reasonably good game on the whistle as well, you know. But yeah, look, it was a 21 points to 22 win. We went out with probably close to the strongest 15 that we could. We had a front row of Brian Howe, Ben Devlin and Josh Evans, second row of Jay Colbeck and Andrew Warner, and a very dynamic back row of Johnny Young at number 7, Joe Manuel at number 6 and Gary Dunn at number 8. Was probably one of the lines that won the game for us, the truth be told. In the backs, we had Stephen Atkinson and Dan O'Neill at 9 and 10. We had Jeff Carter and Nuhan Rossetti in the centre, and I have to say that last week Jeff Carter says Wes Carter. Last week I questioned Wes Carter going into the centre, and it looked like that Gorey were going to test him at every opportunity, and they did test him at every opportunity defensively. And whatever they could put at him, he matched. They hit him, they ran at him, he tackled, he got up. Our defence was super with him in there. So I ate some humble pie after the game on Saturday, and rightly so, because Wes was superb. On the wings, we had Podge Mahan and Jeff Power, and Axel Montgomery was full back. Podge was back for his first game of the season. He hadn't even played Southeast this year, so it was good to get him back, and he had a lot of key early involvements in the game. But as the game kind of progressed, his involvements, not by his own making, but by the type of game that was being played, Podge's involvement started to become less and less. It was a cracking game, as I said. We scored 3 tries, Gorey scored 2. Dan O'Neill did a lot of damage from the boot as well. But, we could talk about the people, but it was just a game of rugby. You had 2 teams that went out and wanted to play. There wasn't a dirty stroke in the game. I don't believe that there was a scrum penalty in the whole game. We had 2 yellow cards again for high tackles, which makes it 5 yellow cards and 2 Leinster League games for us, which is a big worry, a very, very big worry. That discipline is an issue that we have to fix. Because as that season goes on, you will get punished more for that once teams get more fine-tuned. The top performers for us, you could pick any one of 15, but as I said, our back row were just super. Our back row were absolutely phenomenal, led by Captain Gary Dunn. The switch to move Joe Manuel into the back row probably worked because Joe carried a huge amount of ball in the game, and it just allowed him to worry about kind of doing what he's strong at rather than worrying about kind of any flashy back moves. Joe's good. Joe's a very good ball carrier, so being in the back row allowed him to do that and do what he does best, I suppose. Johnny Young had a cracking game as well, but no doubt the standout performer in the pack had to be Jay Colbeck. Not many teams can afford to lose Wes Carter from second row to go play centre, and for it kind of in a way for it not to have an impact, just Jake was super. He won his line out ball. He carried immensely well. So out the backs again, Jeff Power was fantastic on the wing. He tackled very hard and carried well. And as I mentioned a couple of times, Wes Carter was super as well. Some people will be disappointed that we didn't get a bonus point. I don't think we can complain too much about it because both teams are so evenly matched. Gorey are a fine side on that point. A strong pack, very good half-back combination. Our defence was good. Good enough to stop Gorey's Kiwi out half having a major impact on the game, but he's a guy whose name escapes me, but their out half is a guy who you can see is a baller, and you can see he wants to take the ball to the line the whole time. And he was probably on 3 or 4 occasions in the game was half a step away from making a very tangible line break. So well done to our defence for keeping him at bay. But I think from watching the game and looking at it, I think you have two teams who could be there or thereabouts come the business end of the season. And I'd say that in full respect to Gorey and full respect to all of the other teams in the league. But there were two very well matched teams on Sunday. Our seconds had a disappointing loss 41-32. We dominated the first half, but just failed to put points on the board. Gorey, after the break, had the wind in their backs and probably used it better than we used it. But it was a very strong performance. Some good experienced Kilkenny guys there, like Donald Keeley is coming down from the firsts. Dropped down from the first because he's in college in Dublin. It's probably finding it a little bit difficult to make training, and Corey has a philosophy: if you don't train, you don't play, which is probably fair as well. So Donald will have to work himself back into the firsts. Jay Lahey was back into seconds rugby after some time away with the Defence Forces in the States and in Australia. So Jay is back. However, his commitment might not be 100% as he's starting another term of duty or another course in the Curragh, so he has to give it full of that. Joe Connolly was back for his first start of the season as well at number 8. In the back row, Cormac Connolly and Mark Coughlin were two of the season campaigners in there. John Buckley was probably disappointed after the seconds game at the loss, but still has a lot to build on. And young Caleb Hogan-Air, who I've mentioned a few times, speedy winger, came down from the first as well and actually got 2 tries for the seconds. So looking as the season progresses, the seconds will probably get a little bit stronger, but look at 50% from 2 games isn't a bad return, considering 3-4 years ago we were struggling to put out a seconds team. Just before the matches as well on Sunday, we had a pre-match lunch for our sponsors and coaches, albeit the fact it was a Saturday, it was difficult for all coaches to make it as there was a full round of youth matches on Saturday. Moving on to our women's 15, they had a very heavy home loss to Ashbourne on Sunday. I didn't get into the game, but they lost 45 points to 7. Started with a strong team at Maureen O'Connor, Jenny Kerwin and Alice Brennan in the front row, Lorna McCarthy and Alice Murphy in the second row, Isla Moss, Tina Wright and Lika Hoban were the back row. That's a very, very strong back row from our perspective. Lika's a young girl who came to our youths, and we would be seeing her as a very long-term player for the club, who will be with the club for many years to come. Anita St. Ledger was at out half with Megan O'Callaghan at 10, Emily Kenny, Ella Kavanagh, Katie O'Neill, Ciara Hogan and Rachel Brickell completed the back line. I think I mentioned last week, but just a note for Rachel Brickell, who becomes the first Kilkenny girls player to go from minis the whole way through to adult rugby. And there's going to be more behind her, but Rachel started as a minis player, and I think it's just a sign of things to come from women's rugby in Kilkenny. So hopefully we see many, many more following in Rachel's footsteps, that she can be a pioneer kind of for those young girls moving through minis, youths and into adult rugby. But the coaching team for the women's will have a lot of work to do now to put things right. They have a tough outing. It doesn't get any easier next weekend, where they play the refixed fixture against Southeast Lions in Wexford next Sunday morning. So look, it's going to be a tough couple of weeks for them. But I suppose you have to, is all you can do is stay moving and stay improving. So we hope that the women can start getting a couple of wins under their belt. They're in it's a very strong league. Like, you have the likes of Eden Derry, Ashbourne, Southeast Lions and Greystones in there. So, it's going to be tough for them. But I suppose if you want to win, you have to play the best, don't you? Youth's results from the weekend, mixed bag, very mixed bag. That are under 14 boys lost by 2 points to Wexford. Our under 13 boys beat Enniscorthy on Friday night. The under 18 girls lost to De La Salle. The under 14 girls game was postponed. The under 16 boys had a massive win over Tullow. I was somewhat surprised by the quality of that Tullow team, not taking anything away from our lads, but they put up little or no resistance, which for a club of Tullamore's stature is probably a worry. But our guys were just electric on the day as well. Like Scott O'Shea at out half ran the show. You have young Phelan there in the back row. They're a really good side, well balanced, well coached side. So probably a team to keep an eye on. The other 15 boys had a narrow loss to Portlaoise in the Leinster League, and unfortunately our under 18 boys was called off against Portlaoise. Disappointing. We still have a huge amount of young fellas caught up in hurling. So we actually couldn't field the team on Saturday to play, or for Sunday to play that game due to hurling. We have a panel of about 42 or 43 players for the under-18s. That'll tell you how many lads are tied up in hurling at the moment. Our minis had a full schedule of matches with Enniscorthy on Sunday, with our under 7s, 8s and 9s travelling to Enniscorthy, and our under 10s, 11 and 12s hosting Enniscorthy and Kilkenny. So there was great fun all round from there, and just a word of thanks to George Maher and Ross Barber, and George Maher, our own minis coordinator, and Ross Barber down in Enniscorthy for arranging that. Moving on swiftly, our sponsor of the week is Glana Hygiene, who provide hygiene and workwear and PPE and safety products. And thanks to them for their sponsorship of the club. Our throwback is courtesy of Steve Ashmore this week, which is our 2014-2015 Division 1B league winning team. That was a successful team. They went on to win the league despite losing the first round of the league that year. I think there's a little bit of a message in that from Steve as well, that we lost the first round of the league this year. So you'd be hoping the guys can go on and kind of emulate what the 2014-15 squad did. Interestingly, there's still some hangers on from that squad in the first 15. And probably some of our most important players still in Wes Carter, Gary Dunn, Joe Manuel, Podge Mahan, and returning Dave O'Connor, who returns to hopefully first 15 action this weekend after doing his marathon in Ada Pieta House last week. Our member profile is the one and only Mags Hennessy. Mags won the 2023 Enda Cantwell Club Person of the Year award. She's just one of those people. She just works tirelessly and effortlessly to improve women's rugby in the club. So we all thank Mags for all of the hard work she does for women's rugby in Kilkenny. Looking ahead to next weekend, I don't have our youths fixtures in at the time of recording, so I can't confirm what they are. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, our women's team are away to South East Lions in Wexford on Sunday morning at 12:30. They will need to bring their A game to that and try and bounce back from the disappointment of last week's loss to Ashbourne. Following that in Wexford as well, our J1s and J2s come to take on Wexford, and it's probably a difficult game to for us to call, because Wexford are riding the crest of a wave. They had Byrne beaten last Sunday, only to probably, I suppose they were unfortunate in the last 10 minutes that Byrne overturned a 9 or 10 point lead to take the lead against Wexford, and Wexford got a try in the last play of the game to make it a 33-all draw. Their J2s also had a 31-all draw against the same opposition against Byrne. So it's not often you see first and seconds both drawing, but Wexford for years and years and years would have had a dominant pack, but probably would have struggled in the back line. And the way we see it now is Wexford backline is equal to any backline that's in the league. They have a lot of pace. They have Shane McGuinness at number 12. They have a couple of pacey wingers there. So we're going to have to be very on point Sunday to beat Wexford. There's no doubt about that. It's a little bit unknown for us because I can't remember the last time we played Wexford competitively. So we're looking forward to it, but it's going to be a very tough affair, and we cannot get complacent or take anything for granted going down there, because if we do, we will get a serious shock. The game was supposed to be played on Saturday evening, but unfortunately, due to something that happened with an administration thing on the game wasn't changed in time, so it's going ahead on Sunday as planned now. But look, we're looking forward to going down to Wexford. Corey Carty, our head coach, going home to his home club where his mother is steeped in the administration and running of the club. So it's going to be an interesting day for them. But look, we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can come away from it with a win.
Good stuff, James. Busy one at the weekend. Good stuff, and the best of luck at the weekend with that. Who wants to go next, Paddy or Tom?
I don't mind.
Oh, for Tom.
Right. We'll start off with the youths, because our talk about our seniors last, because there was no game. Our under 14s had a very good win over Byrne, 55-44. Our under 15s had a very, very good win as well. They won 35-5, I think, against Longford. Our 18s had a bad day at the office. They went to Wicklow and were beaten 39-0. So they've a lot of work to do. Probably missing a few of their stronger players going up, and I'd say that the score probably didn't justify the means of the game, but they'll just have to get back on the saddle again and work out for their game this week. Our ladies went out in the first competitive match. They played De La Salle away, and they had a fantastic win up there, 19 points to 15, with tries from Jay Collins, Louise Kelly, and Grace Kern, and I think Jade got a conversion, and Sark Fitzhenry got a conversion as well with that. So look, it's brilliant to have the women out there. They're gaining momentum with training. I think they have 22 now in the squad, starting off from about 10. So every week there seems to be somebody else joining them, and they made a conscious decision this year to really enjoy it and have a good social end to it. And I think it's something that is a credit to them, because they managed to, they've had a couple of social nights out. They had a fantastic table quiz. They organised themselves. They got good sponsors on board, from Dinnery with the terrace and the barracks. And so I have to say hats off to them. They're doing an absolutely amazing job. Their next game is not for another 2 weeks. They're playing Gorey away. They have a couple of, I think all their home game, all their away, all their first couple of games are away, because they did a swap with De La Salle. That game should have been at home, but De La Salle couldn't play, so they did a swap. So they have a couple of games. I think their first 4 games, which is tough enough, is all on the road. But look, we wish them the best of luck. The Rhino girls, their 18s we went to Byrne Hall we've devastated a bit. We had 9 injuries, so we went to Byrne Hall with 14. The referee was a bit concerned before the match about us playing 14 and would it be competitive, and Ciara Kinch told him, said, we will finish with 14 and it will be competitive. We went in at half time. We were losing we were losing 12-10 at half time. No luck was going our way at all, but with a good team talk, and the second half, the girls turned around and they played some of the most phenomenal rugby. Probably one of the best 35 minutes of rugby I've seen them play in a long time. They really, really stuck to their guns. They were aggressive in their attack, or aggressive in their defence, and they ended up winning 43-19. I think poor Byrne Hall, in fairness to them, and a nice bunch of girls, but I think they didn't realise what hit them in the second half. And I would say Lily Murphy got 2 tries, Molly Sheridan got 2 tries, Megan Doyle got a try, Grace Dillon got a try, and Ellen Burgess got a try. So the 18s were they're a really gutsy team, even though like a lot of them have come up from the 16s last year. We have a couple of last year's 18s remaining on, and they've got back together and are playing really, really well. The under 16 Rhinos, I think they lost 48-29 to Dundalk, and the under 14s beat the Sharks 44-32. So all the women and their combination with Tullow there with the Rhinos is flying. That's on that. And then next we have our J1s and J2s travel to Wicklow at the weekend. It's going to be knowing there. Wicklow are flying on the crest of the wave. They've had a very, very good win. 2 very, very good wins and their last 2 games. So look, we're under no illusion that this is going to be another tough game. As I say, from the last day, it's trying to cope with the physicality and the speed. It's a real step up. I know, like, after talking to Tullow last year at the start of the season, after they had a couple of games, I got the same advice that you're just going to have to cope with that. If you're going to survive, you have to cope with it. So we have a couple back from injury, still 1 or 2 out. We're probably still struggling a bit at scrum half, trying to fill Noah Cope's shoes is not easy. But I think it's just we need to be far more accurate this weekend. Our rucking has to be on point. We can't. Our support play needs to be on point. I know. Wicklow are very good at the breakdown. They also like to play the ball wide, so our defence has to be sharp. As I said, like we've a couple back from injury, which should be helpful. We'll have a fairly strong team going up and a very strong seconds team going up. So look, it's all to play for on Sunday up there. The seconds is starting a bit earlier. It's a 1:15. 1:15 kickoff because both games are on their main pitch. So just to allow the break and get the players off in time for the J1s. J1s is at 3:00. So it'll be our key thing is just to go up and play to the best of our ability and see where we are, and hopefully then get back for a home game after that. But it'll be a challenge for the lads. But hopefully they get through. From a club point of view, club is doing very well at the moment. Like plenty of guys training, plenty of new members coming in. I have to congratulate the senior players that organised their table quiz last Friday night, and the Irishman's was a huge success again. It seems to be a success every year. So I just want to say thanks to them, and thanks to all the members who support and the people who came, and especially the ones who travelled up to support the girls on Sunday. It's hard to get up, and get up there and travel to De La Salle, but they did, and there was a good crowd up there. So look, we're delighted to have the ladies back, and I said the youths had a reasonably good weekend. But look, this weekend's another weekend, and back to the scratch, and hopefully we can go out and try and perform as best we can across the board.
Absolutely.
That's all on the Carlow front this week.
Come on, Tom, thanks for that. Yeah, it is a very tough start to Division 1A for you. It couldn't have got a worse first three matches in terms of opposition, but sure, that's it. You have to sort of get into the flow of Division 1A at some stage, and I don't know, maybe it's a blessing in a way. It just gets you up to speed and tells you where you need to be, I suppose.
Well, it is, yeah. Because you're playing teams like, okay, look, we played Wicklow back 2 years ago before they got promoted. Paddy knows we always know what Tullow are like, so it doesn't matter what results Tullow have had previously. When it comes to Carlow Tullow, it's a different game, and maybe we might have liked that game a bit earlier because it would have woke us up, kind of got us into the physicality without having to play the top two. some of the top two favourites in it, but it is tough. We even found that last year, like even playing Tullow in the Towns Cup match, we could see the slight difference in the speed of the game and the physicality that it brought. So all we can do now is try and develop the side and get the side up and prep them as much as possible as we can for these games. Like, there's no easy game. Ty had a very good game last weekend against Sea Point, and by all accounts, seemingly we're very unlucky not to win that game. So, like, there's no easy team here. No offense to anyone in Division 1B, but you might have a couple of teams that you'd have more chance of saying, right, we should be trying to get a win against those teams, but now every game is a cup game, really. That's the way we're looking at it now. It's not. There's no game that you can kind of pinpoint and say, oh, we definitely should be trying to have a win there. We definitely should get a win there, and you won't accept anything but a win. But now you're trying to figure out and kind of say each game. You take each game as it comes, because as I said, each game is different. You're playing teams we haven't played before, and we're playing up a level. And look, lads will have to learn. We want to try and continue to play Saturday rugby. It's been a success, even though we haven't had the results the 2 times. But from a support point of view and from the players' point of view, it's definitely something we want to retain.
All right, good incentive as well. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Tom. Paddy, Tullow a weekend off last weekend in terms of the J1s and J2s, but the women went up to near Belfast to play Cook.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, it was a very long journey for the women, particularly after losing their opening match in AIL against Wicklow the previous Saturday. And whether it was the long journey or they were up against a very good team, yeah, they got beaten pretty well. Started quite badly, and Cook went up 26-0 by half time. Tullow recovered somewhat and actually won the second half 12-10. So the final score was 36-12. So there was tries in the second half from Carla Cloney, converted by Roisin O'Toole, and a try by Joanna Mahan. And so they were encouraged somewhat by the improvement in the second half. And as Tom was saying, the games are going to come thick and fast now, and it'll be it's a steep learning curve for them. But look, they're where they want to be, up in the AIL, and there's a great buzz about the team. And part of that buzz is generated by the fact that history will be made again next week when we have a J1 team out as well as our AIL team, and that's certainly a big day for the club. So our J1 team, our seconds, are heading away to Clondalkin on Sunday. So that's a great achievement. To think a few years ago we'd be able to put out two senior women's team, we wouldn't have thought so. So yeah, that's a big day for our women. As I say, the AIL team have a welcome day off next week, our welcome weekend off, and the following week we'll be hosting Ballincollig on Saturday. And that's going to be a big day. Tom was talking there about the Carlow Tullow matches. Well, on that day, Carlow are coming with their first and seconds, playing at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and followed by the Ballincollig match for the AIL women at 5 o'clock. So there should be a huge buzz around the club that day, and we can't wait to get into the local derbies either for the men's, because they, as Tom said, they certainly bring the best out of both teams and get a great crowd out. So that's the women, and I suppose they were the main focus last weekend. As we said, the men had a welcome break after two defeats in their opening two matches. A narrow loss to Ashbourne the first day and a heavy loss to Wicklow the last day. So they really wanted to regroup and get a few injured players back. And I think the training went pretty well in the last 2 weeks, or last week and this week. And so heading to Suetonians won't be a simple match either, but we definitely need to get back on the horse in a big way, particularly after that Wicklow result. We're hoping to have a few key players back, like Adam Johnson and Stevie Smith, and a few others as well, who would make a big difference. As I mentioned, the Carlow match, the matches are going to come thick and fast now. See with Suetonians next week, Carlow the following week, Sea Point the following week, and then another local derby with a tie the following week. So we certainly would try and build a bit of momentum compared with the pretty disappointing start we've had. So that's mainly on the senior side, Stephen. Bit more encouraging on the youth side. We'd have nearly a full schedule of matches last weekend, and won 7 out of 8, and some of them were quite tough matches against sort of what you call top opposition. Our 13 boys had no match last weekend, and their Leinster League hasn't started yet, but they're very enthusiastic because, as you know, 13s it's their first time to play 15-a-side rugby, and they're raring to go and are training very well. The under 14 boys won away to Wicklow on Friday night, and the score was 26-19, and there was tries from James Byrne, Matthew Worrell, Odrin Whelan and Oisin Redmond. So that was Wicklow would be good at that level, so that was a good win. Tom mentioned the under 14 Rhinos, and they had a good win, 44-33 against the Sharks. The under 15 boys had a big win away, 31-7 to Mullingar. And the under 16 boys was a much anticipated match, because it was a repeat of last year's Premier final, in which Tullow narrowly beat Navan and fully expected Navan to come gunning for revenge. And to our delight, we beat them again 24-16, and that was a very top quality match again between two good teams. So we were thrilled with that result. The under 16 Rhinos lost to Dundalk, as Tom said. The under 18 boys had a big win on Friday night at home under the lights. against Enniscorthy, and Enniscorthy would be normally considered very strong at under 18 level, so it was a big win for those. Our 18 struggled a bit in the last couple of years, but they're going very, very well this year. Sean O'Brien and Johnny Fitzgerald, Johnny Egg, have taken over the training of that team, and they're really flying at the moment, and are putting out 2 teams when they can get suitable opposition. So it's all good in that, and as we all know, having strong 18s is very important for the advancing up to the senior teams. The under 18 girls, then, as Tom mentioned, also had a fantastic win against Byrne Hall, 43-19. So as well as that, there was a mini blitz last week. It wasn't an inter-club blitz, it was a blitz for the local schools, and 250 turned up for that. And our biggest problem with the minis at the moment is parking, and to get 250 out on a session like that was absolutely fantastic. Off the field of play, there's a few things happening as well. We have bingo on Friday night, and that's a good fundraiser and is proving quite popular. We only started it this year, but it's proving quite popular. So it's on again Friday the 18th. We just got, thanks to Eddie Hawke, we got 20,000 of a grant to upgrade our walking track through a part of the Healthy Ireland Walking Tracks initiative. And whilst we have a walking track around the 3G pitch, we intend to use this to extend that walking track around the grass pitches and to link the 2 of them up. So that's it's nice to get that bit of funding. We also are trying to recruit a ground person at the moment. Michael Crimmins did great work there for years, but he has retired. So thanks to the Tullow Community Group, CLG, and their community enterprise scheme, we're looking to recruit a ground person at the moment. So if anybody's out there is interested and available, they might contact Tullow Community Group, CLG. Perfect. So that's the story from Tullow, Stephen, and looking forward to maybe more success next weekend.
Absolutely, and the best of luck, Paddy, with those games. Just lads, the old tough games are coming thick and fast. Division 1A now is nothing to be sniffed at. You know, you can hear it in the voices, and you know the results and everything like that. But it's a tough league, and you knew going into it when Tullow got promoted and then Carlow again, you knew what you were going to face, I suppose. And it's amazing the difference from one up to the other. And like you said, just in terms of speed and all that, and like you were saying, Tom, about ruck, clean ruck ball, quick ball, all that sort of stuff, everything has to be a lot tidier. You won't get away with half as much in Division 1A against some of those sort of teams, but it's where you want to be, I suppose. Wouldn't have it any other way.
No, absolutely. I think, Stephen, it's a credit to the likes of ourselves and Tullow, and maybe not so much Wicklow as they're closer to Dublin, but to play in a league that has so many Dublin sides. You talk about physicality; they have a huge advantage over us in the senses that you've guys working in Dublin who can attend the gym in the way to work in the morning. They can attend the gym after in the morning, whereas the country clubs like ourselves and Tullow will have lads who are apprentices, who are working on sites, who are travelling around the country in vans and on farms. And, you know, it's very hard for them to come in and get in and train. And, you know, and it's a huge, and nobody understands the huge effort it takes to put a countryside out. So, like any of the sides outside of Dublin that are successful, it's a credit to their clubs, because the effort that goes into trying to retain players, you know, especially when they go to college and they're up in Dublin and where jobs are located. Like, we are blessed in Carlow, we have MST, and you know, and we've a lot of good industries, and there's a lot of new industries over in Tullow and over in Carlow, and that keeps lads employed in the area, but I don't think they understand the effort that it takes to get players to come to train and then travel in after. And I know it may sound funny, but after milking cows and, you know, spending a day on the farm, to turn around then and get in the car and come in and train, when I know a lot of them, all they want to do is put their feet up and watch telly. So,
and on top of all that, Tom, on top of all that, every year we lose 4 or 5 or 6 of our best 18s who go to college in Dublin and want to play a bit at some of the under 20s teams up there or seconds teams up there, and that's always a drain and a disappointment when these good young lads go. You always just hope that they will come back, and that's the best we can hope for, I suppose. But it's a fact of life.
Well, that's it, and that's why it's like Paddy hit the nail on the head earlier. We've always said like trying to get a couple of 18s. You're not, and they don't need necessarily to be starting first team players all the time. But if you have 5, 6, 7 players every year coming through, and they play seconds or they play first, and they're local, and whether we can see it now. A lot of the seconds that have come through are younger lads who are, they're after they've taken on apprenticeships and may have not have gone to college, but if we didn't have 18s coming through, those players would be gone. They stop playing or they'd play other sports, but like it's a huge effort from. Yeah, that's why I keep saying like the southeast is an amazing area from a rugby point of view, because like we're so far away from Dublin, and and lads travel every weekend home, and they were home from college and have journeys to come in to train, and like. It just shows it's a brilliant sport. We have a brilliant sport because people wouldn't come and play and travel and do the stuff that they do, on a weekly basis, an amateur basis to come, as I say, like we do struggle at times outside of Dublin because we don't necessarily have all the employment, but we don't have facilities on our doorstep all the time. As I say, it's hard for lads to get to the gym and make the effort to go to gyms. And like I even see my own son when he does go to Dublin, he's in Dublin maybe once a week or twice a week. Like he's able to pop around the corner to a gym on his way back from work, or whereas at home he has to get up and get in the car and drive to the gym and then drive to train. And I know it's not a far journey for him, but there's others who are traveling long distances to come to train. So hopefully we can stay up, and hopefully the southeast will stay as strong as it is in the Division 1A and Division 1B.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the local derbies are critical. They're just saying, and adding to all of that, the local derbies are critical. And we have Carlow and Athy and Tullow all very close together, and it would be nice if Kilkenny come up next year, because those local derbies really make the season for us.
And they do, they add to your bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that bar is hugely important. So whether it's a coffee, a mineral, or a pint, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's all income into the club. And Paddy knows how hard it is to get income in. To try and keep funding not just the extras, but even to the basics of getting jerseys and physios and all. There's so much to run a club.
Absolutely. There's no online in their pockets. When you have a bar in a club, it all goes back into the club, and the more people that use it, whether you're part of the club or not, you want to drop up for a pint, or like you said, Tom, a coffee or whatever, it all adds up, and it's hugely important, as you've said, and can't be underestimated either. Lads, go well at the weekend. The very best of luck. And James was on there earlier as well from Kilkenny. Busy times at the moment, but great with the amount of rugby that's on. From an interprovincial point of view, there's some of us probably heading up to have a gawk at Leinster, Munster and Croke Park. We'll see how that goes. Good few injuries for Munster, but Leinster looking very strong, and great to see R.G. Snyman making his debut last weekend as well. He didn't do much wrong. Kieran Frawley was impressive as well for the time he was on. You could see a notable difference when he went off as well when Ross Byrne came on. So there's plenty of talking points with the Interpro stuff at the moment.
Well, definitely, I will say Munster will have to either pull magic out of the bag, play the best rugby possible for the players that they have, and if they don't, it's going to be a scutcheon, because I think if you saw off the ball, we went to the opposition podcast, they had a Munster team of all the ones with the asterisks unavailable for this game, and
that was a good team.
For God's sake, a ridiculous team. But anyway,
James Lowe really upped the ante yesterday. He said, we love these guys at the international level, but when it comes to Leinster Munster, there's a big hatred there. So he really is stirring things up for Saturday.
Yeah. Going after Craig Casey and everything, yeah.
But there is, and if you look at the crowd, I mean, I think there's 70,000 sold for.
It's nearly sold out, Tom.
Yeah,
there's 1,000 left.
You talk about local derbies, Paddy. I think. Well, I don't know. I don't know about Leinster, but the GA will be very, very happy. It's very, very happy with 70,000 people.
Yeah. 82,000. It's going to be full.
82,000. The 1,000 tickets left about an hour ago. They're nearly finished. Mental. Right. Crazy stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, lads. Listen, enjoy your weekend. Best of luck on the pitches. We'll catch up with you again next week. And Tom Crotty from Carlow, Paddy Browne from Tullow, and James Blanchfield was on there from Kilkenny. Take it easy. We're back next week.
Thanks, Stephen.
Stay, Steve.